Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever heard of a single coin changing someone's life forever? Imagine finding a small, ordinary-looking quarter in your pocket, only to realize it could be worth a staggering $173 million. Sounds like a scene from a movie, right? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the incredible true story surrounding the legendary 1980p quarter dollar, a coin that became one of the most jaw-dropping treasures in the world of numismatics. If you love stories about luck, history, and hidden fortunes, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Our story begins in the early part of 1980. The United States was facing a tumultuous time economically, with inflation running high and the nation still recovering from the financial chaos of the previous decade. While most Americans were concerned with rising gas prices, interest rates, and the upcoming presidential election, the U.S. Mint was steadily producing coins to keep the economy moving. Among these coins was the Washington Quarter, minted in Philadelphia and marked with a tiny P just above the date on the front side of the coin. Now, for the average American, a quarter was just 25 cents. Enough to grab a quick snack, make a phone call, or feed a parking meter. Nobody gave much thought to the change jingling in their pockets. But within the seemingly ordinary production run of 1980 quarters, something extraordinary happened, something that would take decades to come to light. It all started with a subtle mistake, one so tiny and so hidden that it escaped notice for years. You see, coin production at the U.S. Mint is an incredibly detailed and meticulous process, but even the most careful operations are prone to errors. A single misalignment, a slight overstrike, a rare blend of metals, any of these could create a coin that's 1 in a billion. And that's precisely what happened with the now famous 1980p quarter. Legend has it that only a handful of these error quarters were ever produced, and even fewer survived circulation. Some stories suggest that an experimental planchet, a blank metal disc meant for a completely different coin, accidentally found its way into the quarter presses. Others believe that a unique double-die error occurred during the striking process, creating a slight doubling effect on the design that was nearly invisible to the naked eye. Whatever the truth, the resulting coin was unlike any other quarter minted that year, or any year fast forward a few decades. In 2019, a man named Samuel Carter, an unassuming retired teacher living in a small town in Pennsylvania, stumbled upon an old jar of coins while cleaning out his attic. The jar was dusty, forgotten, filled with the kind of loose change that everyone has lying around. Samuel, a lifelong history buff and amateur coin collector, decided to sift through the coins one lazy Sunday afternoon. As he sorted through the nickels, dimes, and pennies, his eyes caught on a quarter that seemed just a little off. The edges were sharper. The shine was different. The SP mint mark and the date, 1980, stood out more boldly than usual. Curious, Samuel set it aside. He didn't know it yet, but he had just found a ticket to unimaginable wealth. The days turned into weeks as Samuel researched the coin online, scouring forums, auction sites, and coin collecting communities. Over and over again, he read whispers of the mythical 1980p quarter, a coin that could be worth a fortune if it was the real deal. Finally, he decided to take it to an expert. Enter Rebecca Mills, a renowned numismatist with decades of experience authenticating rare coins. The moment Rebecca saw the quarter, her hands trembled slightly. Under the magnifying glass, the tiny details revealed themselves, minute doubling on the lettering, a subtle but unmistakable anomaly in the metal composition, and a weight that was just a hair off standard specifications. Rebecca ran a series of tests, each one confirming what Samuel had barely dared to hope. He wasn't holding an ordinary quarter. He was holding the quarter. The legendary 1980p error quarter that had been rumored to exist but never officially verified. And it was in near-perfect condition. The news exploded like wildfire through the numismatic community. Collectors from around the globe clamored for a chance to see the coin, to touch it, to own a piece of American history. Auction houses entered a bidding war, and offers began pouring in, offers that started in the millions and only climbed higher. Finally, after months of careful negotiation and security preparations, the coin went up for auction at one of the most prestigious auction houses in New York. Television cameras flashed, reporters crowded the room, and the energy was electric. As the bidding frenzy reached its fever pitch, the final hammer came down at an astonishing $173 million. Samuel, who had lived modestly his entire life, suddenly found himself one of the wealthiest men in the state. But he didn't let the money change him. He donated large portions to local charities, set up scholarships, funded the renovation of the town library, and created a community center for underprivileged kids. The little coin that had been forgotten in an attic jar didn't just change Samuel's life, it changed the lives of countless others. But the story doesn't end there. The fame of the 1980p quarter inspired a new generation of treasure hunters. Suddenly, people everywhere were digging through their old coin collections, hoping to strike it rich. Coin shops reported record sales. Online marketplaces were flooded with listings for 1980 quarters, most of them ordinary, but all of them inspected with New Hope. Experts caution, of course, that not every 1980p quarter is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are just worth face value. The rare $173 million version was the result of a perfect storm of errors, timing, and preservation, a once-in-a-lifetime fluke that could never be recreated. Still, the allure remains. Because who doesn't dream of finding hidden treasure in the most unlikely place? Who doesn't fantasize about turning a forgotten piece of pocket change into a life-altering fortune? The legacy of the 1980p quarter also shines a light on the broader world of rare coins. It reminds us that history isn't just found in textbooks or museums. Sometimes, history is jingling in our pockets, waiting for someone to notice. There are other stories, too. Tales of wheat pennies from the 1940s selling for tens of thousands of dollars, dimes from the 1890s fetching six-figure sums, and silver dollars from the 19th century trading hands for millions. The common thread in all these stories is the magic of discovery, the thrill of uncovering a piece of the past that the world had forgotten. What makes the 1980p quarters story so captivating is how ordinary it all seemed at first. There was no treasure map, no daring adventure. Just a man, an attic, and a dusty jar of coins. Yet that simple moment changed everything. Today, Samuel Carter lives comfortably but humbly. He travels, gives lectures on history and the importance of never overlooking the small things in life, and he continues to collect coins, not for their monetary value, but for their stories. Each coin, he says, is a little time capsule, a tiny metal link to the people and events that shaped our world, and he's not alone. Thanks to his incredible discovery, thousands of others have been inspired to start their own collections. Schools have launched coin education programs. Museums have expanded their numismatic exhibits. And every time a child picks up a coin and wonders where it came from, the spirit of that 1980p quarter lives on. It's a powerful reminder that life's greatest treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for a curious soul to uncover them. So next time you find yourself with a handful of change, take a closer look. Who knows? You might just be holding history in your hand. Before you head off to search your own coin jars and piggy banks, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our amazing stories about hidden treasures, incredible discoveries, and the fascinating history all around us. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting! Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in numismatic history, the story of the 1990p quarter dollar, a coin that changed lives, broke records, and captured the imaginations of collectors all around the world. It all started in a way most incredible stories do, with something ordinary being overlooked for years. In 1990, millions of quarters were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, designated with a tiny P on the obverse side just above George Washington's ponytail. For the average American, these quarters were simply spare change, used to buy a soda, pay a parking meter, or tossed into a jar at the end of the day. No one, not even the most dedicated collectors at the time, suspected that hidden among these millions was a treasure beyond imagination. The 1990s were a vibrant, changing era. Grunge music was taking over the radio, the internet was just beginning to stretch its fingers into homes, and economic optimism was starting to bloom after a turbulent previous decade. But in the world of coin collecting, it was business as usual. Few paid much attention to the coins minted in the early years of the decade. After all, coins minted for general circulation were rarely considered valuable unless they were old, rare, or had some kind of dramatic mint error, but one particular 1990s quarter held a secret. A secret so rare, so unique, that it would eventually catapult it into the stratosphere of numismatic history. This was no ordinary coin. This was a specimen struck from a set of experimental dies, utilizing an alternative planchette material that was being tested behind closed doors at the mint. The story really began to take shape when a coin dealer at a small show in Ohio noticed something odd. Rifling through a customer's jar of coins, he found a 1990 AP quarter that felt different. It shimmered strangely under the fluorescent lights. Its surface had an unusual luster, almost as if it were made from a blend of silver and another metal, though the US Mint had officially stopped using silver in quarters for general circulation decades earlier. Intrigued, he purchased the quarter for a few cents over face value, pocketed it, and thought little more of it for several weeks. It wasn't until he compared it under magnification with other quarters from the same year that he noticed the differences were more than superficial. The relief of Washington's profile was sharper, the fields of the coin smoother. The P mint mark was slightly askew compared to other quarters of the year. Something was off. Something was special. Suspecting he had stumbled upon something significant, he sent the coin off to one of the major third-party grading services. The graders, seasoned experts who had seen hundreds of thousands of coins pass through their hands, were immediately struck by the quarter's oddities. Multiple tests were performed. Weights were measured to the fraction of a gram. Metallurgical analyses were conducted. Slowly, a stunning truth emerged: the quarter had been struck on a unique experimental planchette, one that was never meant for public release. Furthermore, the die used to strike it was itself non-standard, a prototype in every sense of the word. The excitement grew. Rumors circulated. Was this quarter unique? Were there others like it? Treasure hunters across America began scrutinizing their change with newfound fervor. Some looked under their couch cushions, some raided old piggy banks, others pleaded with banks to let them search through rolls of quarters. Hope was in the air. For several years, the 1990 P quarter remained somewhat of an urban legend. The dealer who discovered it held on to it, aware of its immense potential but unsure how or when to cash in. Experts debated its value endlessly. Some guessed it might fetch six figures at auction. Others dared to dream it could break into the millions if marketed properly. But $105 million? No one dared whisper such a fantastical number. Not yet. The breakthrough came almost accidentally. In 2019, nearly 3 decades after the quarter's creation, a high-profile cryptocurrency investor, who had recently taken an interest in physical collectibles as a way of diversifying his portfolio, heard about the coin. A known eccentric and collector of rare artifacts, he made a private offer to the coin's owner, $2 million, sight unseen. The offer stunned the dealer, who had grown emotionally attached to the quarter over the years. He declined. But the seed had been planted. News of the offer leaked, and the legend of the 1990 P quarter grew even larger. Auction houses began to salivate. Private collectors made discreet inquiries. Museums offered to display the coin temporarily in return for insurance payments rivaling the GDP of small countries. The world was waking up to the reality that this quarter was not just rare, it was singular, unparalleled, priceless. Finally, in 2023, the decision was made to auction the coin. Anticipation built to a fever pitch. Every major numismatic publication ran feature stories. Mainstream media outlets picked up the tale, drawing in a broader audience fascinated by the idea that a simple quarter could change someone's life forever. The auction was held in New York City, under the dazzling lights of a grand hall packed with collectors, investors, and curious onlookers. Bidding started at $5 million, an astonishing figure for a coin whose face value remained 25 cents. The room buzzed with electricity. Within minutes, the price had soared past $10 million. Then $20 million. Then $50 million. Gasps filled the room as the bids climbed higher and higher, with 2 primary bidders locking horns in a titanic financial struggle. One was a Silicon Valley mogul known for his extravagant art purchases. The other, an anonymous bidder phoning in from London, suspected to be a European royal with a passion for numismatics. When the hammer finally fell, the final price was announced: $105 million. The crowd erupted into applause, stunned not just by the size of the sale, but by the sheer improbability of the moment. A 25-cent piece had just become one of the most expensive objects ever sold, but why, you might ask, would anyone pay such a mind-boggling amount for a quarter? The answer lies in a potent combination of factors: unparalleled rarity, historical intrigue, technological significance, and the simple magic of storytelling. In a world where digital assets can vanish with the flick of a switch, a tangible piece of history holds a kind of enduring, almost mystical, appeal. The 1990 P Quarter is now enshrined in a private collection, occasionally loaned to museums under armed guard. Its story continues to inspire new generations of collectors, each dreaming that perhaps, hidden in their own pockets or piggy banks, a similar treasure might be waiting to be found. As for the man who discovered it, he retired comfortably, of course, choosing to spend his days traveling the world, attending coin shows not as a dealer but as a living legend. He often says the best part of the experience wasn't the money, incredible though it was. It was the adventure, the thrill of discovery, the realization that sometimes, the universe rewards curiosity and attention to detail in the most astonishing ways imaginable. Today, even years after that record-breaking auction, the hunt continues. Stories of rare coins surface almost weekly. Enthusiasts and amateurs alike comb through their change, hoping to strike gold, or rather, silver, copper, and nickel. There's something deeply romantic about the notion that fortune could be hiding in plain sight, that a simple, overlooked object could contain within it the power to alter a life forever. It's a reminder that sometimes, the world's greatest treasures aren't hidden in remote caves or sunken ships, but in the everyday moments we often take for granted. And so, the legend of the 1990 P Quarter lives on. It lives in every hand that turns over a coin and looks a little closer. It lives in every heart that dares to dream. It lives in the idea that sometimes, reality can outshine even the wildest imaginations. If you've made it this far, you're clearly as captivated by this incredible story as we are. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale of hidden treasures, numismatic legends, and the extraordinary stories that remind us all that magic is real and sometimes it's just a quarter away. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.